welcome to the Soda Fiend. Today I'm going to be covering a little bit of a blank spot on the Soda Fiend's lexicon of flavor, as it were. It's just one of those things that happens in one's life that occasionally one of the majors kind of gets by you. And while this show is definitely not intended as a showcase for the majors, I'm going to go ahead and attend to this matter before I get to reviewing any copies of this beverage that we're going to be tasting here today. It's just a blank spot in the Soda Fiend's lexicon. It was never a purchase of my family as I was growing up, although where I've been living for the past several years, it now seems to be a most grievous omission indeed. That's why today we're going to have a visit from the doctor. Yeah, because despite being a Soda Fiend, it has been so very long since I have actually had a Dr. Pepper that I believe I am obliged to reacquaint myself with the flavor. But you might say, how can a Soda Fiend be unacquainted with the taste of the Dr. Pepper? Well, first, my answer to that would be, where were you from again? But ultimately, it just comes down to, I don't know. So let's have one. Looking at this beverage, I have found it in a cane sugar variety in bottles, which is currently undocumented on Wikipedia. They mention Dr. Pepper Heritage, which appeared in this decade, but this is not designated as such. I did find this at a store in Austin, Texas, which is fairly close to Waco, the home originally of Dr. Pepper, which began its life as a massive array of fountain drinks back in the very early days of American soda and coalesced into a single beverage, which made a pretty decent stand against Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper before retreating to sort of a comfortable number X spot that kind of floats in there among them without being the same kind of beverage at all. It's important to note that Dr. Pepper is not a cola. I'm not a lawyer, but I believe that legally speaking, Dr. Pepper is not a cola as a result of several lawsuits directed around that very idea that it was competing directly with Coca-Cola and Pepsi. But it's not. It's its own thing, which is why Coca-Cola cloned it at one point as Peppo, which became ultimately mr.pibb. But Dr. Pepper does share bottlers with Coke, Pepsi, and various other soda bottlers throughout the country of the United States. I don't know a whole lot about their international presence. But I found this, and it has a very attractive bottle, which sort of combines a 1950s Dr. Pepper logo in the roundness and the placement of the 10-2-4, which is a Dr. Pepper thing about when the American worker loses his blood sugar or some such advertising hokum. And this is more of a Dr. Pepper logo that precedes that 1950s one, which kind of had a modern font for the day. It was invented by a guy named Charles Alderton in Waco, and I'm not going to dive too deeply into the history on this episode because I'm basically just going to do a tasting, but eventually we're going to take a drive up there and take a look at that. I believe this beverage, toward the beginning of its life, was briefly marketed as Liquid Sunshine in 1913 or so, or spun something off anyway, and that sounds like it would have done well in the 1960s. So, who is this Dr. Pepper? Where did he get his degree? What exactly is a pepper, and why does he want me to be one? Sounds like a bit of a pod person to me. I think this may have had something to do with why I didn't become so acquainted with the flavor of Dr. Pepper. Their advertising in the 1970s when I was growing up was very coercive. They were very much encouraging me to be a pepper, and I had my doubts about that. But, of course, they really just want me to drink some of this elixir, which I intend to do. So, Dr. Pepper has 40 grams of sugar, according to what I found, which seems minimal compared to typical. It's not excessively minimal, which is a stupid thing to say, but about 2 to 3 grams lower than average. And I've found some conflicting reports on the sodium level, or rather the caffeine level. The Good Housekeeping report that I found measured 42.6 milligrams of caffeine, which is reasonably hefty. The Wikipedia actually reports 55, which is very high, one of the highest, actually. And it's about time that we crack and pour. Our bottle cap today is a classic. The oval Dr. Pepper logo. White on red with the 1024. I'm not sure whether this is an actual classic iteration, but they've got the flavor down nicely. It's a bottle cap. An early swig is quite pleasant. And it really has been a while. I think it might have been 20 years since I've had a Dr. Pepper. And I'm not really sure what's kept me away. This is perfectly fine. I think maybe just the fact that its flavor is undisclosed might have kept me away for quite a while. I don't know. It's good. It's pretty heavy soda. Carbonation levels are not crazy, but the soda itself it's got body. And this is the cane sugar variant, which I've only seen in one place that I have noticing, as it were. Let's take a little swig over some ice. I don't think I really necessarily need to review this soda. Most people are going to know what it's about already. I didn't. Well, not really. Because it uses a caramel color, it's easy to mistake Dr. Pepper for a cola or expect a cola when you drink it, but it's not. And it's almost beyond evaluation. The smell is a little peculiar. But the flavor is good. Yeah. Don't know what I can really tell you about this one. Dr. Pepper is an enigma. Where did you get your degree? I doubt the veracity of your medical degree. And where did the period and the doctor go? Who knows? These are mysteries that will haunt the world forever, most likely. But I have to say, I've had a pretty good experience at the doctor's office here. Dr. Pepper is currently responsible for a number of the classic American brands that haven't been absorbed by the big two. They are the stewards of RC and Diet Right, Upper 10. And not only A&W and IBC, but also Hires Root Beer, the American Classic, which, due to the presence of A&W and IBC, sort of takes a back seat. But it is still available, and it is an amazing root beer. So we'll get to that another time, and we will take that trip up to Waco. But for the moment, I think I'm going to finish off this here, Dr. Pepper, and call it an episode. The Soda Fiend is going to take a lollipop home from the doctor and take care of his teeth, as you should as well, especially if you're throwing liquid candy at them, which, make no mistake, that's exactly what this stuff is, even though I'm out here telling you about it. don't think I have any illusions. Enjoy, be careful, have fun.